So in this case, we learned that how to solve this example by considering the equal strength column. So there might be two maybe condition where we may have different or variable effective length about both axes. In one case, if we are using different bracing condition about both axes. So in this example, no bracing was used about x-axis. So the total unbraced length was the length between the sports. But about the y-axis, we have used two braces. So effective length was one third of the total length. So in this case, we had different effective length or unbraced length about both axes. So now in example number 3.4, we will also learn that the effective length may also be different about both axes if k factor or effective length factor may be different. So last time one student he asked me the question in what case the effective length factor k may be different. Actually in partially restrained frame, when you are computing the k factor or the effective length factor for any frame or any column, so maybe either end of the column may be connected with maybe a column from the upper side and also the beam on the both sides. So in that case, you know that we compute the g value or psi value at the top or at the bottom end of the column, which is the ratio of the flexural stiffness of the column to the flexural stiffness of the beam. So in this case, if you want to compute the k value, for example, uh, I would like to show you this page again. If we are having the formula over here, yes. So if you are using this formula, so if you want to compute the kx value mean effective length factor about x-axis. So in this formula, you're supposed to use the moment of inertia I value about the x-axis, both for the column and also both for the beam. And similarly, if you want to compute the effective length factor about y-axis, so in this formula, you're supposed to use the IY value, moment of inertia about y-axis for the columns and also moment of inertia of beams about y-axis. So this could be one case. And similarly for the bottom case, uh, when we are connecting the column with end plates, so depending upon the connection, our column may be simply supported about one axis and may be fixed about the other axis depending upon the constraints available. So now a third condition may be with reference to the side sway. So in this example, the k value will be different about both axes due to the side sway permission or the allowance of the side sway about any particular axis. So what is the data? Design a W section column in a building frame of 4-meter story height. So story height is 4 meter. So it means that unbraced length of the column will be 4 meter for an axial factored compressive load. So axial factored compressive load is directly provided. So PU value is 975 kilonewton and the frame is braced against side sway about its weak axis, but side sway is allowed along the major axis. So in this case, actually, what is side sway? I have already explained. If the ends of the supports or the ends of the column they move or relative to each other during the application of the load, along with buckling, that is referred as a side sway. So in this case, side sway is not permitted or frame is braced against side sway about weak axis. Weak axis means y axis. But side sway is permitted or allowed along the major axis. I will also change this along. So I will change this word to about. So about word is more appropriate. So side sway is allowed about x-axis and side sway is not allowed about y-axis. So about y-axis the frame is braced, so the top end cannot cannot move about y-axis, but this end can move in x-axis. So if the y direction is continuously braced, there is no need to consider slenderness ratio effect in that direction. So because it is braced. So actually there are two methods. First method is that we design the column based upon our assumed value. So for W section, we supposed to assume the R value 90, and we consult the page number 106 on LRFD, design it to check the 5 CFCR value, and we compute the area required. And then we select the section from section properties table, which are given at the start of LRFD design it. Actually, we miss one thing. Assume that the ends of the column to be pinned at the base and fixed at the top. So column is pinned at the bottom and fixed at the top. So we will consult this page because we are directly provided the end condition for the top and the bottom. So here you will see that these three columns are for side sway prevented, and these three columns are for the K value for side sway allowed or permitted. So one end of our column is pin and other end is fixed. And if side sway is not allowed, then K value is zero point 0.7 theoretical. But in design, we may use this value as a 0.8. So K value about y-axis may be 0.8. But about x-axis, side sway is allowed. So effective length factor K value will be different. So for one end fix and one end hinge, so column will buckle along with side sway or the lateral movement of any one of the support. So theoretical value of the K is 2, but design value 2.1 may also be considered. So it means that in this case we are having different K value effective length factor about y-axis and about x-axis. So from the page number 103, so LUX unbraced length about x-axis and unbraced length about y-axis will be same because no bracing is provided. Bracing is only provided for side sway but not to reduce the effective length or unbraced length. So Kx value, actually here he has considered 2. I think there might be mistake in data, but this value is supposed to be 2.1, and Ky value it's supposed to be 0.8. But anyhow, this problem is solved for Ky value 1. So you can redesign this problem by considering the Kx value 2.1 and Ky value zero point 0.8. So if you multiply the Kx effective length factor with unbraced length about x-axis, so you may have effective length about x-axis which may be 8 meter, and similarly effective length factor Ky may be multiplied with the unbraced length about y-axis which is same. So you may have effective length about y-axis also 4 meter. So we are having two methods. We want to design an equal strength. For the equal strength column, so we supposed to select a section which may have the same ratio of their radii of gyration as the ratio of their effective length uh, from x-axis to the y-axis. So if you're taking dividing the effective length about x-axis to the y-axis, you will have the value 2. So it means that preferably we must select a section which may have the Rx over Ry ratio approximately 2. That will be the most economical solution. So Pu value is 975 and KY, LY value is 4. So at the start, if you don't want to consider this criteria, so I will also give you the one alternative. One alternative is that you just consider Pu, which is 975, and effective length about y-axis. So you are having W column selection table. From here, because you already know that these tables, column selection table, they only provide the capacity for different standard section corresponding to various effective length about y-axis. So here the capacity is only enlisted with reference to the different effective length about y-axis. So the capacity about x-axis is not given because it may be larger. So it means that although we are having a different effective length about x-axis and also different effective length about y-axis. So first of all, what we will do, we will select the section based upon effective length about y-axis and based upon capacity, our factor load. And later on, we will also check the capacity with reference to x-axis. So PU is 975 and effective length about y-axis is 4. So we're supposed to select the first trial section which may have the capacity more than 975 kilonewton corresponding to effective length 4. So we will start from the bottom. So effective length 4. All section on this page, I'm starting from the bottom, are having the capacity less than 975 corresponding to effective length 4 about y-axis. Similarly, on this page, all sections are having the capacity less than 975 corresponding to effective length 4. Maybe yes, on this page, this section is having less than 975 and this is having more than 975. This may be okay, but capacity is 1088. So just write down separately. This may be our trial section, but may not be the first trial section. This section is having capacity more than 975 corresponding to effective length 4. And write down the designation. Designation is W252. So don't stop here. Try. We may have a lighter section may be available on other page, but you can write down separately W252 and capacity corresponding to effective length 4 is 1088. I will also look on other pages also. So on this page, yes, this section, this is having the capacity more than 975 corresponding to effective length 4 about y-axis. And what is the weight? W250 and weight is 49.1. So this is lighter. 49.1 is lighter than 52. So 52, this could be our second trial if this section fails. So for our first trial section will be this one because this is the lightest one, 993. So let's check, maybe we are having any section available on the other page which is the lighter. No, they are quite heavy. Similarly, other pages very heavy. Capacity is maybe twice more than requirement. So anyhow, it means that my first trial section will be W250 and 49.2, 49.1. If it fail, then second trial section will be this one. And then if this will also fail, then third trial section will be this 58. So with the order of their increment of their weight, I will apply the checks on trial section. So first trial section will be 40 W250 49 into 1 and capacity is 993 about y-axis, not about x-axis. At the bottom, write down the area 6260, ry value is 49. Okay, just check here. Rx and Rx over Ry ratio is approximately equal to 2. even more than 2. So this may satisfy the capacity about y-axis, about x-axis also. So Bf over 2Tf value is 9.1, H over Tw value is 27.1. So you are provided with Rx over Ry. It means that if you multiply 49 with 2.16, you will directly have the Rx value also from here. So you have written over here. So by using the concept of equal strength column, so equal strength column means that what you will do, because you have selected the section based upon Ky Ly. Now you need to check the capacity about y-axis also. So what we will do, I have already explained, you will convert the effective length about x-axis into the equivalent effective length about y-axis by using the concept that I have already explained here. Because equal strength column is the one which is having same slenderness ratio about both axes. So from here, Rx over Ry is equal to the effective length about x-axis to the effective length about y-axis. And from here, if I am bringing the Rx and Ry on the other side, so what I am doing, I am converting the effective length about x-axis into the equivalent effective length with reference to the y-axis. It means that if the effective length about x-axis will be certain value, if I divide it by Rx over Ry ratio, so I have converted the effective length about x-axis into the equivalent effective length about y-axis. Because these tables are provided only with reference to the provided only providing the capacity about the y-axis. It means that if I want to check the capacity about x-axis, I need to convert the effective length about the x-axis in terms of effective length about y-axis. So the procedure I have already explained. So compute the KY-LY equivalent. So for KY-LY equivalent, for equivalent effective length about y-axis, we required Rx over Ry value. That value we are getting from our first trial section that we have selected based upon effective length about y-axis. Okay, compute the KY-LY. So I am dividing the effective length about x-axis by the Rx over Ry ratio. So equivalent effective length about y-axis is 3.71. Okay, now if please at the moment you need to hear carefully, if KY-LY equivalent is coming out to be less than KY-LY or actual effective length about y-axis, then the section that you have already selected is the final selection. You don't need to revise it. But if KY-LY equivalent is coming out to be more than KY-LY, then you need to select another section based upon KY-LY equivalent. So if, for example, our effective length, actual effective length about y-axis is 4, if this answer is supposed to be 4.1, then you need to select a new section based upon KY-LUY equivalent. So hence KY-LY equivalent is not critical as compared to the effective length about y-axis. So we are not going to revise this section. So our this section may be the final section, but just to confirm, we need to apply all the capacity check. So write down the area, Rx over Ry ratio, depth of this section. You can check from this table which are given at the start of LRFD manual. Anyhow, we will apply the local instability check. So buckling of unsniffered element, which is the flanges in our W section. So BF over 2TF ratio is 9.1, which is less than 15.8. So there may not be any flying local buckling. So buckling of stiffened element, which are the web here, that is checked by B over T ratio of the web, which is computed as H over TW ratio, which is 12.7, and this value is also less than 42.1. So these two values are directly given here for at the bottom of the pages. You don't need to compute separately. So in the same way, you will compute this redundance ratio about both axes. Effective length about x-axis will be divided by the rx. Effective length about y-axis will be divided by ry. Whichever is having the larger value, that redundance ratio would be critical. So largest redundance ratio is 82, which is about y-axis. It means that this section will buckle about y-axis. And further, R value is less than 200, that is okay. And based upon R value 82, you will consult the page number 106, and on page number 106, corresponding to R value 82, critical stress will be 157.54. So the column will buckle at a critical stress value 157.54 if the redundance ratio is 82. So this value will be multiplied with area and divided by 1000 just to convert into kilonewton, and capacity coming out to be 986. So this capacity is more than the applied factored load. So capacity check is also okay. And the final selection will be this one, W250 into 49.1. So in this way, we will design this example. So if you are having any question regarding this question or until here, you are most welcome. Please use the raise hand option. And if you are having any question. Okay, you are not having any question. Yes, Uzair, please ask the question.
सर जिस तरह हमने वो x के एक्स एल एक्स जो है उसका इक्विवेलेंट y में निकाला है, तो सर अगर हम सेक्शन सेलेक्ट करने से पहले इक्विवेलेंट निकाल के तो फिर उसी हिसाब से कर लें, तो मतलब y के लिए पहले सेक्शन सेलेक्ट करें ना, इक्विवेलेंट निकाल के चेक कर लें और फिर जो सेक्शन है वो सेलेक्ट कर लें अगर दूसरी इक्विवेलेंट लार्जर आ रही है तो.
You did not think any deep. Okay, I will give you the question. How you can compute the KY/LY equivalent? Just answer me. Because you do not know any section. Do you know Rx over Ry ratio?
Okay, sir.
You don't know. Actually, the first section will be based upon KY/LY. Okay. When you will select very first trial section, then for the very first trial section, in this case for W250, you may have the Rx over Ry value. So at the start, we may not have the Rx over Ry value. You understand?
Yes,
so
sir.
There are two methods. So first of all, you need to select very first section, which is the lightest one, based upon KY/LUY or effective length about y-axis. Then you will have the Rx over Ry value for the first trial section. Then you may compute the equivalent value of effective length about y-axis. Then you can re-enter into the table. You understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. No problem. Okay. Akib Ali, are you there? Akib Ali? Akib Ali. 135.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Could you let me know what is side sway?
Yes, sir.
Side sway. What is side sway?
No idea, sir.
So what are you doing during online lecture? I have repeated maybe more than 3 times. Okay, what will be the effect of side sway on effective length? Okay, Ayan, are you there, Ayan? 2929. Ayan,
Yes, sir.
what is side sway?
सर ड्यूरिंग कंप्रेशन से जो बीम होता है सर वो साइड पे उसकी बकलिंग हो जाती
नहीं, repeat it. I am unable to hear you clearly.
है ड्यूरिंग कंप्रेशन से साइड बकलिंग ऑफ अ बीम
Side buckling. Okay, no problem. Okay, mute your mic. Bilal Mirza, are you there? Bilal Mirza.
Yes, sir.
Okay, can just let me know some conditions or some method to reduce the effective length about any axis.
सर इसका तो इतना सर आइडिया नहीं है, लेकिन वो साइड्स वे वाला का थोड़ा बहुत आइडिया है सर, वो बता देता हूँ।
Just no problem. Let it go. How I can reduce the effective length of any compression member about any axis? Just no problem. इसके कोई नंबर नहीं है. I just want to yes.
सर इसकी वो सर इसकी स्लेंडरनेस रेशियो को काम करके
कैसे हो सकती? How we can reduce the slenderness ratio? Can you let me know what are the strategies?
सर अगर इसका रेडियस ऑफ डायरेक्शन कम कर दें तो
कैसे कम कर दें तो slenderness ratio ज़्यादा हो जाएगी? I don't want to change the section type. R axis, I cannot change the R value. R is constant. Then how?
सर फिर अगर
Okay, just I'm just explaining here. If maybe after 2-3 days you are having the examination, do you think all of you can pass this subject? More than 50% student? I don't think so. You are just coming online and maybe you are busy in some other things and you are not concentrating on lecture. I'm not talking to you, but I'm talking all the students in general. Okay, anyhow, mute your mic. Fida, but are you there?
Yes, sir.
Fida, okay. So can you tell me how I can reduce the unbraced length or effective length of any section?
Sir, वैसे मुझे क्लियर आइडिया नहीं, लेकिन मैं जो पॉसिबिलिटीज है लाइक वी कैन चेंज द मटेरियल
मटेरियल से चेंज हो सकती है by changing the material strength. Can I change the effective length? Do you think? I just explained the example number 3.3 very at the start. Then I proceeded to the example number 3.4.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Okay, anybody who can answer this question? How I can? No to Uzair, other than Uzair. Other than anybody else, Uman Malik, Uzair, Hamza, and anybody else, Mohsin, Moin Awais, anybody other? Okay, Moin, just explain how I can change the effective length or unbraced length of any section. Sir, about anybody.
By providing bracing along on that axis, we can change the effective.
Okay, good, very good. And also by changing the end condition, K value, okay? So these are the two conditions. Actually, you are not thinking critically. So actually, effective length is based, or slenderness ratio is based upon the KL over Rx value or R value. Section type, if you cannot change, it means that you can change the slenderness ratio either by bracing, by reducing the unbraced length, by providing bracing, or by changing the end condition. So this was the question. So I'm very disappointed by the level of the student. Okay, no problem. Okay, next is now we will start studying the topic of built-up section design with lacing. So earlier in my previous lecture, or we have already studied the design of built-up section by considering the stay plates. But this is a different built-up section that we are making by connecting the both section with other technique which is referred as lacing. So we will discuss it in detail. And how this section is different from the built-up section with stay plates. So the built-up section with stay plate, it is having the gap of around 10 to 15 millimeter between them. So we are placing two channel sections or two column sections very close to each other. So the only distance between them is the thickness of the guzzle plate or thickness of stay plate. So thickness of the stay plate is also maybe 10 millimeter or maybe 15, and also the guzzle plate is 10 millimeter. And then we are connecting the uh, both. Let me show you the section that we have already considered here. So at the end we are connecting the both single section with the help of n-type plates, and along the length we are connecting with the help of 2 or 3 stay plates. So the distance between both sections is just maybe 10 millimeter or equal to the thickness of guzzle plate at the end, and whatever is the thickness of the guzzle plate, same may be the thickness of stay plate. So the section they are placed very close to each other, and then these stay plates, they may be welded with the angles or they may be fastened with the angles. And also the stay plate thickness is around 10 millimeter, and the depth may be equal to the depth of the section, and the length is equal to the 75. So the size of stay plate is normally very small, and along the length we are just connecting the plate with the help of 2 or 3 stay plates. So just we are placing both sections very close to each other. So in this case, majorly or the mainly, we are making the built-up section just to increase the moment of inertia about y-axis to a certain value, not to any larger or maybe significant value. And also, we are making the built-up section in that case if any lighter section is not available. But in some cases, we have to we want to achieve a larger moment of inertia or larger radius of gyration about y-axis. So in that cases, we need to place both sections at a very large distance between them. So we need to increase the spacing between the two connected sections. So in that case, if we, for example, this spacing between the both angle may be around, you can say 100 millimeter. In that case, we need the thickness of the stay plate whose thickness is also 100 millimeter. So if we are providing the stay plates of 100 millimeters, so stay plate itself will be very heavy. So instead of providing the stay plates, so it would be more economical if we are connecting the both section with a small steel bar or a small steel section in certain pattern that we will discuss today. So that is this one. So built-up section for a compression member becomes efficient due to the fact that slenderness ratio of composite section can be made equal about both direction, and this will give or provide us the equal strength column with minimum weight, and we can compute the spacing between the individual element by varying the radius of gyration. So how we can do? So actually by this concept, we are making the moment of inertia approximately same about the both axes. So we need to compute the spacing, how much spacing is required. So maybe I will have the example or not here. Maybe I will explain when we are designing the question. So actually these are the certain guidelines. If we are making a built-up section by joining two W section or I section, so on the both side we are connecting with lacing. So lacings are the thin steel plates. They may be angle section or channel section, which are connecting the two single section to make a composite section or built-up section. So this lacing is shown by the dash line in the cross section. Why it is shown by dash line? Because we ignore the cross section area of lacing while computing the gross area of the cross section. Gross area will be just equal to the area of these two I section, ignoring the lacing. And lacing is only used to transfer the shear stresses from one section to the other. So there is a guideline. If the depth of a single section is given as a D, so we can place the both section at a distance of 1.5 times the depth of single section to the 1.6 times of the depth. So distance, that will be the clear distance between their web or the outer faces of their web. And if we are making a built-up section with two channel section and their flanges are inverted outside or turned outside, or they are placed back to back, in that case the distance between their web is kept around 60% to the 70% of the depth. For example, if the depth of the section is 100 millimeter, then the distance between their web is around 60 to 70 millimeter. It is not 10 millimeter that you have used for a built-up section with stay plate. And if we want to make a built-up section by place with the help of two channels with their flanges turned inside, in that case the total distance from the outer face of the one web to the outer face of the other web is kept around 0.9 to the D value. So in this case total width is kept around equal to or less than the total depth of this section. So these are the guidelines. So what is the lacing? Lacing is defined as these may be plates, angle or any other steel shapes which are used in a lattice configuration. Lattice means in some triangular pattern with a certain fixed pattern that connect the two steel shapes together. So the purpose of lacing bar is to make the entire component act as a single unit. So it will maybe by providing the lacing, we can achieve the composite action of two sections or the integral behavior. So the both sections, they cannot slip with reference to the each other. When a structure member is consisting of two or more shapes and cover plates are not provided, lacing element must be used. So I will explain this point later. So first of all, I will show you the lacing. So here types of the lacing are given here, and then the function I will also explain. If we are having two channel section with their flange turned inside and we are connecting on the both side with the help of lacing. So this built-up section at the ends, the edges will be connected with the help of N-type plates on the both side. N-type, one N-type plate will be on the bottom side and one N-type plate will be on the top side. So here there is a longitudinal view and this is the cross-sectional view. If you are cutting from here, so you will have the N-type plate also here and also the one N-type plate here. And we also already have learned that what is the design of the N-type plates. I will repeat you when we are solving the example. But from the intermediate portion, now we are not connecting with the help of stay plates. Rather, we are connecting both channel section with small, thin steel plates, flat steel bar, you can say that, in a triangular pattern, which is called lattice configuration. So in a particular pattern. So a flat steel bar or the plate is used to connect one channel section to the other channel section in a triangular pattern or in the inclined direction, which is having any particular angle. We will see that what would be the angle. So this is called the lacing. So here you can see that lacing is we are providing different steel plates or different lacing. Why it is called lacing? Because that is similar to the lacing or the laces in our shoes, which are very thin and just they are holding the both part of the section together. So this is called single lacing. Single lacing you see that only one bar is connected from one side to the other bar, and on the opposite direction you are not having any bar. But here this is the double lacing. So double lacing is used if applied load is very large and we need to transfer larger forces from one steel section to the other. So we will see that what are the design guidelines. And in this case, we are having the double lacing. So double lacing means that a lacing of steel plate is, or this flat steel bar is also provided opposite to the other. And we are also having another technique. In this technique, the both section, they are also connected with the help of steel plate. But in this case, steel plate is provided in transversal direction. Here, the steel plate or the flat steel bars are used to connect both sections in a triangular pattern. The angle is given with reference to the longitudinal axis. So angle of these steel plates which are connecting both sections, it is provided at 90 degree with reference to the longitudinal axis. So if steel plates are used in transversal direction, so these are referred as battens. If we are connecting both sections by any section or steel plates in a triangular pattern or in the inclined direction, this will be referred as a lacing. Okay, when we are showing the cross section, in the cross section we are showing this lacing as a dash line, because if I'm cutting this section over here, so the area of this lacing is only available over here. So this lacing is not available throughout the cross section. For example, if I cut from here, so I will not have any lacing available at this part. So that's why in gross area we ignore the contribution or the area of lacing. So lacing is not resisting any applied compressive force, but they are used to transfer the shear forces from one member to the other member. How they will transfer, I will explain. Okay, now what are the purposes? Number one, they provide resistance against shearing force transfer to the built up member developed by bending produced due to buckling or due to simultaneous action of the bending on the shear force. Okay, now I will explain this. Okay, how I may explain? Actually, just think about that this section is buckling or bending about y-axis. For example, here we may have the y-axis. So whenever it buckle or bend about the y-axis, you know that whenever a section is subjected to bending, so one part of this section will be in tension and other part will be in compression. For example, if the buckling takes place about this axis, I can sketch this x-axis, then bottom part of the both section will be in tension and top part of the both section will be in compression. So neutral axis will always be the axis about which the bending is taken place or is taking place. If bending or buckling takes about the y-axis, then one section will be completely in tension and other will be in compression or vice versa. So you know that whenever a section is subjected to bending, so it behave like a beam. So in the beam we are also having the shear force. Bending stresses are maximum at extreme fiber and the shear stresses, they are maximum along the neutral axis. So please mute your mics. So what I was explaining, so actually no material is available here. If we are not connecting with the lacing, so though no material is available, it means that due to shear stresses, both sections they can slide or move separately. Example I would like to give you that if you are bending your register, maybe your book, so you can see that all the page, because the pages they are not connected with each other, so all the pages they can slide independently with reference to the other pages. Why? Because there is no any surface or there is no any shear resistance available between them. Okay, if you are stapling the register, staple maybe along the thickness direction. If you want to provide bend, if you want try to bend it, now you need more force to bend. Why? Because the slippage between pages is constrained by providing the stapling pin. So stapling pin, they are not letting the all pages to slip or to move or slide with reference to each other. So in this way, you are having the composite action in the register or in the books. So in that case, which is increasing the strength. So similarly, we do not want the each or both part or both single section to move or slide or bend individually with reference to each other. How we can avoid if we are connecting both with the help of lacing or stay plates or batten. So the cross section area at any cross section or along this neutral axis is the area which is transferring the shear forces from one part to the other part or resisting the shear or slippage between both sections. So we will see that how much this shear force will be there. So number one purpose is this, and they are also used to decrease the effective length of individual components. Just like in the stay plates, the section with the stay plates. So by providing the stay plates, so unbraced length of a single section is reduced to the A value. Instead of using the total length as the unbraced length for a single section, so we are only having A value. So a single section is only having the maximum unbraced length A. In the same way, in case of our built up section with lacing, so our unbraced length corresponding to a single section will be from here to here, from the one end of the lacing connection to the other part along the same length. So this much portion from here to here will be the unconnected portion of a single section. And this length will be quite less than as compared to the unbraced length that we are using with stay plates. So unbraced length of a single section is reduced considerably. So it is this length. It is the length between the two lacing connection on the same member. In this case, unbraced length will be this one. In case of the batten, unbraced length of a single section will be from the center of this connection to the center of the other batten. So effective length is considerably reduced. So also maybe sometime we don't need to compute the modified tenderness ratio for the built-up section with lacing. So we only require to compute the modified tenderness ratio for a built-up section with stay plate because A value is very large. But in this case, A value will be very less. So we will see that what will be the A value during our solution. So it is also holding the various part parallel and correct at a correct distance. So what does it mean? So by providing the lacing, because the distance between this connection or the fastener on the both section is kept same. So lacing is also keeping the both angle section at the same distance along the length. So this is also one of the purpose, and it is keeping the alignment same and maintaining the same distance. So it equalizes the stress distribution between the various parts. Equalize mean that if that distance between the both section is same, both section will behave as a one unit, so the stress distribution along the cross section will be uniform. And they are also allowing the wind to pass through to reduce the wind pressure. So since the member, they are connected with the help of lacing, so wind can easily pass through the section. So it means that we will not have any extra wind load which is acting in the lateral direction. So this is the fourth type of the lattice, the configuration of the lacing. So in this case, you may see that we are also connecting the both section with the inclined steel bar or the steel plate and also with the horizontal. So here we are using both lacing and batten configuration. And sometimes we are covering with the help of steel plate and we provided certain hole in the steel plate. So this is called the built up section and the built up section is made by connecting the both section with the help of perforated steel plate. So here there are some pictures. This picture of a bridge I have captured, and this bridge is on Dharampura Canal. And here you can see that the diagonal member and the vertical member of this truss bridge are comprised of the built up section, which are comprised of two channel section, and single lacing is used to make this built up section. And these are the built up section which are made by connecting the cover plate, perforated cover plate. So both sections, they are connected with the plates and perforation or holes are punched to allow the wind to pass through or to reduce the weight. Okay, if we are not punching the hole, then we may consider the area of these steel plates toward the computation of the gross area, because the area of the plate is available throughout the length. But if we have made perforation or holes, then we can ignore the area of steel plates in order to compute the gross area. Here there is a tower, maybe tower for the mobile, for any mobile company, electric tower, maybe for their signal transmitting. So in this case, you can see that the diagonal members are comprised of channel section, and both channel section are connected by using the batten arrangement. Why batten? Because plates, they are connected in the transversal direction. And we are not, these are not stay plates. Stay plates supposed to be in the center of two channel section. So here the batten configuration is used. In the same way, in this bridge, a built up section is used as a compression member. So I will stop here. I will continue after the break. So I would like to give you the break of maybe 15 minutes only. So time is 11 a.m. So I will start the lecture at 11:15 p.m. Okay, attendance was maybe 35 before the break, now 47. But anyhow, I will only consider the attendance of the students who were present before the break. So when I will download the Excel sheet, so I will exclude all the students who joined the meeting after the break or who were logged in for less than maybe 60 minutes. Anyhow, so
सर डिस्कनेक्ट हुआ था एक दफा।
चलो आपका है ना, तो बाकी जो 10 केसेस हैं उनका तो नहीं ना होगा, वो पता चल जाता लॉगिन मेरे पास जो फाइल आती है सारी, उसमें मैं टोटल टाइम कंप्यूट कर लेता हूँ। तो इंशाल्लाह इस हफ्ते आपकी सारी अटेंडेंस अपलोड हो जाएगी LMS पे। Okay, can you see the slides, CR?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So this was the last point that we didn't discuss before the break. So area of lacing is not included in composite area of cross section of column. as it is not continuously present throughout the length. I have already explained. So area of the lacing or any perforated steel plate will not be considered toward the computation of the gross area because they are discontinuous or they are not present throughout the length. However, area of the cover plates, if no perforation or no holes are provided, may be considered in order to compute the gross area. So now these are the guidelines regarding the design of lacing. So lacing usually consists of flat bar, but we may also use the circular rod, angle section or a channel section to connect the two single sections as a lacing member. The lacing element must be placed that the individual part being connected will have slenderness ratio less than the governing slenderness ratio for the entire built-up section. So that concept is same. Actually, I told you that already explained. So slenderness ratio of single section between unconnected portion may be A value. A value for this section will be from this center of this fastener to the center of this fastener. So slenderness ratio of the single section within this unbraced length should be less than the slenderness ratio of overall section. So that we already use this concept in design of the built-up section with stay plates. So A over Ri value, which is the slenderness ratio of single section within the unconnected portion, should be less than or equal to the 75% of the slenderness ratio of the composite section. So we will use the same guideline here. In riveted construction, if we are using the fastener type of the connection, the effective length denoted by A is a distance, which is the effective length of single section. Okay, here A is of lacing bar for determination of permissible phi CFCR value shall be taken as the length between inner rivet of bar for single lacing and 0.7 of the double lacing. Okay, I will explain what it is saying. Actually, he says that, let me check whether I may copy this A value or not. Yes, I may copy. So what I will explain. So actually, this lacing will be designed as a compression member also, because the lacing, this is a flat steel bar, or this may be the angle section or channel section. So when we are designing this lacing, so the cross section area of this lacing will be computed based upon the compression member design. So we are assuming that this lacing is the compression member which is connecting the two single section to make the composite section. So it means that if we are designing this lacing by considering as a column, so we need to consider the total length of lacing, and then we need to consider the total length into the effective length. So the total length may be from the center of this hole to the center of the connector on the other side. That is the A value. So this A value is not the unbraced length of a single section here, this one. This is the length of lacing. The length of the lacing that we are considering for the design of lacing as a compression member, and that is the distance between center of this fastener to the center of the fastener on the other side. So here it is, he is explaining that. So actually he maybe explain the clear distance. Let me check what he is stating. In riveted construction, the effective length denoted by A of lacing bar for the determination of permissible phi CFCR value shall be taken as the length between the inner end rivet of bar for single lacing and 0.7 of the length for the double lacing. So that is, he considered the clear distance. Actually, what I believe that this distance A is the from the center of this fastener to the center of the other fasteners. That is the A. And if two fasteners are provided, then from the center of the interior fastener to the center of the other fastener. So if we are using the single lacing, then the effective length of the lacing will be simple this A. And if we are using the double lacing, then we reduce the effective length by multiplying the A value with 0.7. Here what he is explaining. Inner end rivet for the bar for single lacing, and for double lacing we multiply the A value with 0.7 in order to compute the effective length of double lacing. So he has used between the inner ends. So inner end means clear distance. In welded construction, the effective length shall be taken as a distance between the inner ends of effective weld length connected the lacing bar to the main member for single lacing, and we multiply with the A value. Anyhow, if we are connecting with the weld and weld is provided along the length, so here you can see that weld may be provided at the edges instead of, maybe how I will explain, maybe so I will explain that how we can weld. So in this case, actually we are connecting the lacing with the help of fasteners with both single section. But if we are using the welding, so we can connect with the help of weld. And this weld may be used at these edges. Maybe one weld is used on the one side of the plate and other weld may be used on the other side of the plate. Maybe one weld is used here on the sides. So this weld is connecting the plate with this, I can say that, with this single section. So in that case, the A value will be the clear distance from this edge to the this edge. Maybe I need to reduce. So this will be the A value. So from the edge of this weld to the other edge, if we are not using the fastener but we are welding this lacing on the both sides. So from the edge of this weld to the other edge will be the effective length for single lacing. And this length will be multiplied with 0.7 in if we are using the double lacing. Then AISC column formula. So design for the lacing will be same as of the compression member design. Design will be based upon the slenderness ratio, and for the slenderness ratio, we need the length. Effective length I have explained how to compute, and radius for gyration I will explain in the next slide. So slenderness ratio is limited to 140 for single lacing and 200 for double lacing. So, for example, when we are designing the compression member, so we do not allow the slenderness ratio more than 200 for compression member. In the same way, for the lacing design, if we are designing the single lacing, for single lacing, maximum permittable slenderness ratio is 140, and for double lacing, maximum permittable or permissible slenderness ratio is 200. Double lacing should be used if the distance between connection line of the weld or fastener in the flanges denoted by S is greater than 380. Yes, I need to explain also this. And okay, let me use the same example. And on the same slide or maybe next slide. Okay, what is the S value? S value is the distance, center to center distance. So S is the distance, center to center distance between two lines of fastener in two members. So this is the S value. So this is the S distance. S is the distance from the center of fastener from the one single angle to the other. So this is the S. From the center line of the fastener from the one on the one section to the center line of the fastener on the other section, and we can denote it by let's suppose you think that we are providing one fastener over here and one fastener on this side. And how we compute this distance? Because I have already explained to you that the fastener on this flange is always provided at a distance of G. G is the distance from the edge of this web to the center of the hole on this uh, fastener. So this G value is constant for any type of the section, and we have already discussed it in our tension member design. So if I know the total width, so total width of this section may be equal to this one value. So this is the total B value. or simply you can say that a B. So this is the B value. So B distance from here to here is G value. But anyhow, I will explain how to compute this S value. So at the moment, S value is the distance from the center line of the hole on the one section to the center line of the hole on the other section, or transversal distance between center line of the hole on adjacent section. So how we will decide that we need to use the single lacing or double lacing, that will be based upon this S value. So now if this S value is less than 380, then we will select the single lacing. So decision regarding the lacing will be taken upon this S value. So double lacing should be used if the distance between connection line of weld or fastener in flanges denoted by S is greater than 380. If S value is less than 380, we will use the single lacing, and for single lacing we will use the angle 60 degrees starting, and the length or effective length of the lacing will be equal to the total length, and slenderness ratio of this lacing should be kept or less than equal to 140, and if S value is more than 380, we will design the lacing by considering the double lacing pattern, and for double lacing, theta or the inclination of the lacing will be used as 45 degree, and effective length will be used as a 0.7. So here actually maybe I do little bit modification. Here you can assume that this is equal to L. Instead of A, I would denote with the value of the length of lacing, just to make this design convenient. So angle I have already explained. So angle of lacing is the angle with reference to the longitudinal axis. So this angle will be 60 degree if we are opting the single lacing pattern, and this angle will be 45 if we are opting the double lacing pattern. And then for which force which need to design, actually if we want to design the lacing as a compression member, so actually we need to consider some applied force for against which the lacing is subjected to. So actually lacing is designed to resist the shear which is being transferred from the one section to the other section to avoid the slippage. So we are not computing the dead shear force which must be transferred from the one section to the other part by maybe complex theory of elasticity or by using the exact formula. So, but AISC says that we may consider that the shear forces which are transferred or which are acting in the transversal direction of our main member or built up section, they can be considered 2% of the capacity of built up section. If we know the capacity of the built up section, then the total shear force which must be transferred from one section to the other section in transversal direction. Transversal means perpendicular to the load, or sorry, perpendicular to the member, should be 2% of the 5 CPN. So what is perpendicular mean? So axial forces are acting in this direction. So the shear forces are always in transversal direction. So the shear force which will develop in a built up section due to the buckling in this direction, lateral horizontal or transversal, which is perpendicular to the length, will be 2% of the capacity of built up section. So if we know the capacity, it means that how much shear we need to consider. That will be 0.02 time of 5 CPN or 2%. Okay, here lacing bar may be under tension or compression alternatively. However, compression in bar is more critical and design is performed for it. So we will design the lacing for compression only. Actually, here, you think that if the bending is take place on this side, if bending is taking place on this side, or you can say that if buckling occur in one direction, one lacing, this may be in tension, this will be in tension, but this lacing will be in compression. And similarly, if the section is bending on the other side, then this lacing will be in compression and other will be in tension and vice versa. So actually it means that depending upon the buckling direction, one lacing may be in tension or in compression. So actually the strength of steel member is minimum or less in compression as compared to the tension. It means that we will only design this lacing for compression. So if the design is okay for the compression, so capacity in tension will also be larger. Because capacity in compression is the function of critical stress or the slenderness ratio of this lacing member, but the tensile capacity is the function of the gross area or net area. So it means that when the section is bending, so one lacing will be in compression and other will be in tension. So it means that if we are designing only for compression, so that lacing will also satisfy the tensile stress criteria. Okay, if n is the number of parallel plane of lacing here, on one facing direction will be V over n. Okay, how I will explain this? Actually, shear force is transferred in this direction, and we are having two planes. For example, these are the two planes which is transferring the shear force. Actually, in your structural mechanics, you will study one concept of the complementary stress, which is at the moment is difficult to explain. But what I want to say that I will explain from here, or maybe here. You see that this is the one lacing, single lacing, and this is the one section, and this is another section. So a single lacing is resisting the shear stresses at this plane and also at this plane. So one lacing is encountering two planes as compared to the longitudinal axis. Because slippage will occur or shear stresses, you know that they are maximum along the, what I must say that, along the neutral axis, if this is the neutral axis. Let me, how I will explain this. Okay, no problem. Let me sketch another shape. Is there any arc? No arc. Okay, no problem. Or so what I want to explain that will be the distribution of shear stresses. You know that shear stresses are maximum along the neutral axis and they are minimum at the edges. If you invert it, So you can consider this like this way. So for example, the section is bending about this axis, y-axis. So if this is bending about y-axis, I have inverted it. One member will be in tension, bottom part, and above will be in compression. So the slippage at this point, if we are not having any area, so the slippage will occur. So at this point, we are having the shear stresses, this one, because shear stresses are maximum at the neutral axis and they are minimum at the edges. So at this plane, we are having this area, which is resisting this shear force. And at this sliding plane, we are having two sliding planes. And at this plane, another area of the same plate is also resisting the shear stress which are developing due to the lateral bending or buckling of the section. And these shear stresses are equal to the 2% of the 5 CPN that I have already explained. So one lacing is resisting the shear stresses at two plane or two places. So we need to consider the two areas of the single lacing because which are resisting the applied shear. Just for this purpose, what we are doing, actually we are having the shear force which is acting in transversal direction. So if we are having this shear force, so this shear force is acting in a transversal direction. We need to resolve this shear force along the length of this member. So it means that we need the force in parallel to the lacing member because we want to design the lacing for compression forces. So you can see that if this shear force is acting in the lateral direction, so this may be the hypotenuse and this will be the, you can say that horizontal component of the force. So if we know this vertical component of which is equal to Vu, we can determine the force which is acting in lacing. So force in lacing, this force, because we need the Fu force which is acting in the lacing, that will be equal to this component divided by sine theta, because we know that vertical component is equal to the sine function of this angle. So Fu sine theta, this component if will be equal to the this shear force. So from here we are given Vu over n. So why we are dividing Vu over by 2? Number of the plane, because if one lacing is resisting the shear force at two planes, so we need to divide it by 2. So we can determine the total force acting in the lacing, which is Vu over n. That will be equal to Fu sine theta will be equal to Vu over n. It means that if we are provided with the Vu value, so the force or the compressive force which is acting in the lacing will be equal to Vu over n sine theta. And n is the number of the plane at which a lacing is resisting the shear stresses. So shear stresses are acting in the transversal direction. So if we know the direction of the shear stresses, we can convert the or resolve this force along this component. So this formula is written Fu sine theta is equal to Vu over n. So from here, force in single lacing will be Vu over n sine theta. So n is the number of the plane. So if we are using the double lacing, so total force will be resisted by two lacing. So we need to divide the whole parameter by 2, because in case of the double lacing, two member, they are resisting the force. And then the transverse distance or S value, how we can compute transverse center to center distance between the rivet or the center line of the weld or the center of the weld may easily be found from the non-standard gauge distance of individual element. So here B value, what is B value? B value is always a total distance between the web of section. If we are having the channel, so B value will be the distance from the outer face of this web to the outer face of this web. So in this case, if the flanges, they are inverted outward or their web is placed back to back, then B is the distance from the edge of this web to the edge of other web. So in this case, how we can compute the S value? So S value can be computed because G value is the fixed value. So here, let me, can I copy this? Yes, I can. So here, actually G value for any channel section is fixed, and this value you can consult the LRFD manual. So I have already shown you some table in tension member design, or you can also consider, because this G value is the function of the width of the flange, and these charts are also available in LRFD manual. So I am looking the page, maybe, yes, on page number 100 in LRFD manual, G value for angle section or for any channel section, you can pick this value given on the page number 100 on LRFD manual. So S distance is the distance from the center of this fastener to the center of this fastener. How we can determine? If in this case, if the flanges they are inverted inside, S will be equal to B minus 2 times of G value. And in this case, because G is a distance from here to here, from the edge of the web to the center of the fastener. So in this case, S will be equal to B plus 2 times of G value. So transverse center to center distance between the rivet or centroid of the weld may easily be found from the non-standard gauge distance of individual element. B is the clear distance between web of element in a composite section, and G is the standard gauge distance, and this value we can pick from page number 100 in LRFD manual, and S is equal to B minus 2G for part facing each other. So in this case, S is the B minus 2G. If the flanges built-up section is made by placing the web back to back, S will be B plus 2 times of G value for part facing back to back. So I will just stop here, and next time I will cover the, okay, no problem, there are just 2 slides, and next time I will start solving example. So AISC D4 specification state that the N-type plates, yes. So this thing we have already covered it. How we will design the N-type plates. So thickness of the N-type plate will be kept S by 50. Specification state that the N-type plate shall have a thickness at least equal to 150 to the distance between the connection line of the rivet. So 150 of the distance. So this distance actually is S value. Let me write S value. So S by 50. So thickness is S by 50. And shall have the length parallel to the axis of the main member at least equal to the distance between the connection line. So let me explain. Yes, here. So this plate, thickness of this N-type plate will be equal to the S by 50, and this length that I'm showing over here, this and the length will be equal to the S value at least. So this length will be S and the total width will be equal to the B value. So length of this n-type plate will be S, thickness will be S by 50 and width will be equal to total B value. So at the end, but for a section, for example, if we are having the continuous member for the bottom chord, so for example, this member is the same member, this is a continuous member. So this length may be S by 2 on the both sides. I will explain in our truss design. So if our bottom chord member is a continuous member, so n-type plate may be having the half length or S by 2. Otherwise, at the end, length will be S value. So while we are solving the example, I will explain all these parameters in detail as well. So spacing of the bolt in the direction of the stress in n-type plate must not be more than 6D, and the tie plate must be connected to each segment by at least 3 fasteners in longitudinal direction, and longitudinal spacing of intermittent weld or the fastener n-type plate must not exceed 150. Yes. Spacing of the bolt in stress direction. Must not be more than okay, spacing of the bolt in direction of the stress in tie plates. Okay, I will explain this from here. Okay, please mute your mic, students. He says that spacing of this fastener in longitudinal direction, actually center to center distance between these two should not be more than 150 millimeters or 6 times of the diameter. So actually when we are designing, we have already studied the minimum center to center spacing of the fastener and edge spacing. So to center spacing should be more than 6D in this direction, and also in this direction that should not be more than 150 millimeter in longitudinal direction. So, and at least we must provide 3 fasteners here. So at n-type plate, we must provide 3 fasteners on the bolt direction. So number of fasteners may be more than 3, but we cannot connect with the 2 fasteners. So he says that at least 3 fasteners must be used to connect the n-type plate, and the maximum spacing of the connector is 150. So if we are having this total spacing, because that will be total length of this the n-type plate, which is equal to S value. So the edge distance, he says that maybe half of the spacing. So if we are using the 3 fasteners, like for example we have used the 4, so we are having 1, 2, 3 spacing, and we can divide the total S with the 150 and we can compute the number of the fasteners, or number of the fasteners, their spacing can be decided, and the maximum spacing should not be more than 150. In our design example, we will see in detail. So spacing of bolt in the direction of the stress in tie plate must not be more than 60, and tie plate must be connected to each segment by at least 3 fasteners, and the longitudinal spacing of intermittent. Okay, if we are using the weld, then the spacing of the weld should not be more than 150, and if we are using the fastener, and the same case is applicable. So thickness of n-type plate is always more than S by 50, so length is equal to S. Okay, next is slenderness ratio of the flange between lacing point should not be more than 75% of the overall slenderness ratio. So this is a little bit different. Okay. In case of the built-up section with stay plate, we are keeping the slenderness ratio of the single section within this A value. A value is the unconnected portion of a single section, less than the 75% the overall slenderness ratio. But in case of double angle with lacing, we only consider the length or the portion of the flange only. We only check the slenderness ratio of flange only, which is connected with the fastener, or which is the length of the flanges within two fastener on the same member. So we do not consider the cross section area of single section within A value. A is the unbraced length of a single section. We just check the slenderness ratio of flange only. Why flange only? Because web is compact, so only flange within this unconnected portion can buckle. So we only need to satisfy the slenderness ratio of the flange within unbraced length corresponding to single angle. For A value, A is the distance from the center of fastener to the center of the fastener, other fastener on the same line or on the single section. So R value is the larger value out of the slenderness ratio of the built-up section. So what is the L over R minimum? L is the, you can say L is the equal to length, or here I will use the word A because we have used the same A value in our built-up section with stay plate. So A is the unconnected portion. Similarly, okay, I cannot add it, I will change it later. So that is the unbraced length of a single angle or distance between the two consecutive connectors on the same section or single section. So L over R minimum value should be less than 75% of the slenderness ratio of the built-up section. So we are using the flat plate as a lacing. For a flat plate as a lacing, so okay, for example, actually, if we are only considering the flange, so minimum if B is the BF value and T is the thickness of the flange for a flat steel plate. So I minimum will be BT cube divided by 12, and if the moment of inertia is divided by the area, which is B into T, so we may have the R minimum. So because T will be, B will be cancelled with the B and 1 T will be cancelled with the T. So R minimum for a flat plate is equal to 0.289 times of the thickness of flange. So if we are substituting R value over here with R minimum for a flat plate, so it's mean that by and bringing the 3 by 4 on the other side, so length of the unconnected portion of the flange divided by thickness of the flange multiplied by 4.61 should be less than this R value, overall slenderness ratio, and we need to satisfy it to avoid the local flange buckling. And the last is that when we are providing the fastener connection, so we are keeping the minimum, we are maintaining the minimum edge spacing. So
एक्सक्यूज मी सर।
हाँ जी
सर वो लेक्चर भी था हमारा 12 बजे।
कौन सा लेक्चर है आपका 12 बजे?
सर वो टेक्निकल रिपोर्ट राइटिंग है ना, मैम ने रिस्केड्यूल किया हुआ है। वो एक्चुअली 8 बजे होता है, लेकिन आज मैम ने बोला था कि 12 बजे होगा।
You should have told me earlier. 12 बजे कोई लेक्चर नहीं होता, आप you should have informed me. Okay, I'm just winding up. So
okay sir,
actually we are providing the fastener here. So we need to maintain minimum edge distance. So distance on the other side should be 1.5 times of the diameter. And if we are providing two fasteners, minimum center to center distance between these two fasteners should be 3 times of the diameter, just like we have discussed in tension member design. So when we are placing the fasteners, we need to satisfy the minimum edge spacing and center to center spacing. So I have already discussed this batten plates. So I will stop here. So when we start designing, so I will revise all these design guidelines once again. So now regarding the attendance, now there are 46 students. Ayan, are you there? Ayan.
Yes, sir.
Anyhow, I will not check the attendance of all the students, but I will compute their time for which they were available, and I will mark the attendance accordingly. So if you have any question, you can send me the queries. So I will stop the lecture. So till then, Allah Hafiz.